Poker players love pocket pairs. Big ones feel powerful before the flop, and small ones feel full of hope, because everyone dreams of flopping a set. But feelings don't win in poker, math does. And today, we're going to look at what pocket pairs are really worth. Hi, I'm Terry Wood, and in this episode of the Poker Math series, we're going to break down the true value of pocket pairs using real probability and expected value. We'll look at how often they improve, why they lose value as more players see the flop, and when they actually make money over time. If you understand the numbers behind pocket pairs, your decision-making becomes simple, and you will never get married to one pair again. To understand pocket pairs, we start with the math of hand distribution. Out of 1,326 possible starting hands in Texas Holdem, 6% of the total hands dealt to you will be pocket pairs. That means you're only dealt a pocket pair once every 17 hands on average. There are 13 different ranks of pocket pairs, and each one has exactly 6 unique combinations. That makes a total of 78 potential combinations. Pocket pairs are rare, and that's exactly why people overvalue them. They feel stronger simply because we don't see them often. For the purposes of this discussion, we'll break pocket pairs into 3 categories: small pairs, 2s through 6s. These hands have very little showdown value and are almost guaranteed to face over cards on the flop. They gain almost all of their profit from flopping sets. Medium pairs, 7s through 10s, these hands are vulnerable. They can win unimproved, but only against fewer opponents and on safe flops. They still face overcards on the flop more than half the time. Over pairs, jacks through aces, any one-pair hand is vulnerable, but these hands are statistically strong pre-flop and often win unimproved. And yes, pocket jacks are the 4th strongest hand in poker by raw equity, even if they don't feel like it sometimes. Pocket pairs have definable strength pre-flop, but their true value comes from how often they improve and how they hold up relative to the board. So let's look at the math behind the strongest upgrade a pocket pair can make: flopping a set. Pocket pairs gain real power when they improve, and the most valuable improvement is flopping a set. Here's the math. If you are dealt a pocket pair, the probability of your flopping a set is 11.8% or 7.47 to 1 odds. If you miss the flop, you have a 4% probability or 22.5 to 1 odds of hitting a set on the turn and about the same on the river. For the turn and river combined, the probability is about 8% or 11.5 to 1 odds. If you do flop a set, you're about 2 to 1 odds or 33% probability to improve to a full house or quads by the river. Flop sets create a rare event in poker. Your number of outs actually increases as the hand develops. Once the flop is out, you have 7 outs to make a full house or quads on the turn. If you miss the turn, you now have 10 outs to make a full house or quads on the river. Your hand equity rises after missing on the turn because the turn card itself becomes an additional source, adding 3 outs to your full house draw. But what happens when pocket pairs don't improve? That's where overcards and board pressure start eroding one-pair value. A pocket pair may start with showdown value, but that value begins to shrink the moment the flop comes down. This chart shows the probability of facing at least one overcard on the flop when you hold a pocket pair. Keep in mind these ratios are not precise, rather they are rounded to the nearest 5% in order to make the chart easier to read and recall. Kings only fear aces, and an ace appears on the flop about 20% of the time. Queens face either a king or an ace about 40% of the time. Jacks see overcards 55% of the time, more often than not. 10s are under pressure 75% of the time. 9s or lower face overcards 80 to 100% of the time, depending on the specific pair. If you have a pocket pair below 10s, you should expect to see an overcard on the flop about 75% of the time, and that number escalates the lower your pair. That's not bad luck, that's probability. And the pressure doesn't stop on the flop, even if you see a safe flop. The turn adds more overcard risk, and the river adds even more. By the time all 5 cards are out, any pocket pair, 8s or less are more than 95% likely to have faced at least one overcard. Even pocket jacks are 75% likely to have at least one overcard on the board by the time the river is exposed. If you want to see the full breakdown by flop, turn, river, and total board exposure, I'll link the complete overcard probability chart. It's available on PokerRailbird.com. You'll find that in the description below. So now we know pocket pairs are vulnerable to overcards, but that's only one of the risks they face. Before we can talk about when pocket pairs are profitable, we also have to look at another mathematical threat: the probability that someone has a bigger pocket pair before the flop. Overcards aren't the only danger to pocket pairs. There's also the risk of running into a bigger pocket pair pre-flop. This is known as reverse implied odds, and it's a built-in risk anytime you play small or medium pocket pairs. As an example, you hold pocket tens and there are 6 players going to the flop, so there is about a 12% probability that one of those 6 players holds a pocket pair that will beat your tens. Here's a quick shortcut you can use in real time. Take the number of players that are going to see the flop and multiply it by the number of pocket pairs that are higher than yours, then divide it by 2. As an example, you hold pocket tens, there are 4 pairs that will beat your hand, pre-flop. Jacks, queens, kings, and aces. Let's say there are 6 players headed to the flop, so that's 4 pair that will beat yours, multiplied times the 6 remaining players, which equals 24. Divide the 24 by 2 and you have 12%. So there is a 12% probability that one of those players holds a pocket pair that will beat your tens. This quick calculation may not always match the chart perfectly, but it is close enough to use in live play at the table. Small and medium pocket pairs are vulnerable. They're often behind before the flop, and they face overcards on most boards. So when do they still make money? Only when the set mining math is right. Let's break down the conditions that make pocket pairs profitable. Small and medium pocket pairs don't make money by winning a lot of pots. They make money when they hit sets and get paid. Since a set is only flopped 11.8% of the time, or about 7.5 to 1 odds, these hands are implied odds hands. That means they are only profitable when very specific conditions are met. Let's review the mathematical requirements for profitable set mining. Requirement number 1. Stack depth and price must be right. Set mining is only profitable when you have enough money behind to win when you hit. The effective stack, meaning the smaller of your stack or your opponent's stack, must be at least 20 times the original raise size. That said, 25 to 30 times is the ideal for long-term profit. If either stack is too small, you can't win enough to justify calling preflop. As an example, if someone raises to $10 and you both have $250, set mining is mathematically valid. If you or your opponent only has $80 behind, the effective stack is $80 and the math doesn't work, then your best option is to fold. Remember, you are not calling to win the current pot. You are calling to win a large pot later when you flop a set. Bet sizing changes implied odds. Bigger raises and 3 bets eat into the stacks behind and inflate the pot early, so you're risking more to win relatively less later. That lowers your implied odds, even if stacks started deep. The call is only good if the amount you can reasonably win when you hit outweighs the amount you must invest now across all the times you miss. In single raised pots, with effective stacks greater than 20 times the open, the amount to call is usually small enough that implied odds are there. In 3-bet pots, the amount to call often becomes so large that, despite deep stacks, your effective future win relative to your investment shrinks and implied odds fail. Remember, you will miss the flop 88% of the time. Because of that, you will most likely not get the correct direct pot odds to call preflop. Set mining must be based on implied odds, not the current pot size. If there isn't money to win later, the call cannot be justified now. Requirement number 3. Position always increases profitability. Set mining is far more profitable in position because you control pot size. You lose less when you miss. You earn more when you hit. Out of position, opponents can freeze you with bets or checkbacks, killing your implied odds. Let's recap. For profitable set mining, we need to meet the following 3 requirements. 1. Stack depth and price must be right. 2. Implied odds must be greater than pot odds. 3. Enter the pot from a profitable position. If any of these conditions are not met, you may want to consider folding. Now let's look at some conditions that can potentially impact your profit. Pocket pairs feel like safe hands, but the win rate data tells a very different story. The more players that see a flop, the more pocket pairs lose their value. Not because they suddenly become weaker, but because the math turns against them. When you look at win rates by player count, a clear pattern appears. Heads up, most pocket pairs are competitive. Even hands like 8s and 9s hold their own. But the moment a pot goes multi-way, equity starts collapsing. Small pocket pairs, 2s through 6s, become pure set mining hands. If they don't improve, they simply don't win often enough. Medium pairs, 7s through jacks, survive against 1 or 2 opponents, but struggle as soon as overcards and pressure enter the picture. Even jacks and queens are not invincible. They win a lot heads up, but fade fast in 3 and 4-way pots. The only hands that maintain strong equity in traffic are aces and kings, and even they lose power every time another player enters the pot. Why? Because more players means more ways to be outdrawn. Every added opponent brings more overcards, more draws, and more combinations that beat one pair. This leads to the biggest leak players have with pocket pairs. Some players treat one pair like it's strong in all situations, instead of recognizing that its value is always relative to the board and the number of opponents. That's when the classic mistakes show up, calling down instead of releasing, ignoring overcard probability, and chasing multi-way pots with no plan. Pocket pairs look simple, but the math behind them isn't. Their real value depends on how often they improve and how well they hold up against multiple opponents and changing board textures. Before we wrap up, let's anchor everything we've covered with a clear summary. When holding a pocket pair, you will flop a set about 11.8% of the time, or 7.5 to 1 odds. If you miss the flop, you have about a 4% or 22 to 1 odds of making a set on either the turn or river. If you do flop a set, you're about 33% or 2 to 1 odds of making a full house by the river, depending on the size of your pocket pair as to the probabilities of overcards coming on the flop. With a hand like pocket jacks, you will see an overcard on the flop about 55% of the time. Not only does overcards erode the relative value of your pair, so does the number of players entering the pot. Pocket pairs are made hands pre-flop, but their value is always relative to the board and the number of opponents. So how do you handle pocket pairs correctly, mathematically, and consistently? The 5 golden rules of pocket pair math 1. Small and medium pairs are set mining hands. They are not played for showdown. They are played to improve or fold. 2. You need at least 20 times the raise amount to call preflop. Without deep enough stacks, set mining fails mathematically. 3. Multi-way pots only help when the price and position are right. More players means more money in the pot, but also more risk without control. 4. Respect overcards as they appear on the board. The lower your pair, the more often you're already behind by the flop. 5. If the math isn't there, fold preflop. No ego, no emotion. Discipline creates profit. Hope creates losses. Pocket pairs don't win because they look strong. They win when they're played under the right mathematical conditions. Long-term profit doesn't come from big pots. It comes from avoiding negative EV situations and capitalizing on disciplined opportunities. In the next episode, we move from pocket pairs to no-pair starting hands, ace-high and Broadway hands like ace-king, ace-queen, and king-queen. These hands are overplayed more than any other category in poker, yet they miss the flop 2 out of 3 times. We'll break down the real math behind them and how to evaluate their true value. I'm Terry Wood from PokerRailbird.com. If you found this episode valuable, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who's serious about learning real poker. Thanks for watching, and as always, we'll see you at the tables.